Now go to Google.
Oops.
No, you find Google.
Mhm.
Okay, now hit go live. So you're live. Go back to W.
This.
Now
Mhm.
go to checkout. Yep.
Let's
Talk about
it. Let's talk about it.
Hi, everyone.
Hello,
Hello. Hello.
Where's our clap?
Having some technical difficulties, so we'll just clap it up. We'll just clap it up, get y'all in the mood. How's everybody doing tonight? Let me get myself situated. I am the illustrious Miss Melissa.
And I am Miss E. So, how's everybody doing this evening?
We're hoping everybody is doing well. I
Good.
want to turn this around real quick.
Okay. Well, you know what? First of all, it's just two of us here tonight. Thank you,
For stepping up.
Melissa,
and
for coming in because the guys were out this evening.
Okay.
So I'm glad that you're here. So it's just us girls tonight.
It
It's
is just
and
us
that's
girls
gonna be-
tonight.
yes, ladies' night tonight.
Hi.
Right. So it'll be
Low
a different spin on it. And So-
Wait a second.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
All
You
right.
can still, you know,
All
you
right.
can
What
still-
is everyone doing for the holiday?
I'm probably gonna be cooking.
You gonna be
What
cooking?
you gonna be doing?
Probably cooking. My youngest son invited us over, and then he decided he was going with his in-law because the grandmother was cooking. And
Okay.
They had family coming up Saturday, but they decided to move the dinner to Sunday, so they bumped us. So I'm like, what?
Okay.
So we
okay.
probably end up cooking out a little bit of something. We're not sure.
Okay. Oh, you gonna cook out?
We may cook out because
Oh,
it's
okay.
just me and Pierre
Is
right
it gonna
now.
be nice?
I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
know. Yeah, I don't need.
But you know what? We cook out even when it's snow outside.
Oh,
we just,
do you?
we
Okay,
put stuff
okay,
outside, bundle up, come back
Yeah.
in. So even if it was raining, it's
You
just,
yeah.
we just
okay.
throw.
All right. Yeah, I
Mhm.
haven't. I don't. I only unpack my grill. Well, I mean in the summer, but I take it usually like right before Memorial Day is when I
Oh.
like break in my
Break
grill
it
and
in.
stuff. Yeah. But I'm glad that the holiday's a little later. This year.
It
and
is, but
it's
it kind of
warmer.
feels awkward because
Why?
I'm used to the holidays being either the end of March or early April. It just seemed like so late in the year.
It is late this year.
You know?
Yeah, it's late, but I like it when it's really late this year, but I like it when it's warm.
Yes.
And hopefully it'll look a little bit more like you notice the trees and everything are starting to
Yes.
bud and the cherry blossoms are
Allergy
blooming.
season for me
Yeah,
and for
Oh,
many others.
I don't have allergies. I'm glad. I'm
Oh,
glad.
you're so lucky.
But yeah, the cherry blossoms are blooming and you can see the guy came to do the lawn, so that's always like the
That's
sign.
a good sign.
Yeah, that's the sign.
When the landscaper
So,
is
yeah.
out, that is a very
Yeah.
good sign.
So that's good. So we're getting there.
I want us to get there already.
Yeah.
I realize the older I get, the more I hate the cold.
Oh,
so
really?
I
Okay.
know that once I get to my retirement age, I'm out of here.
You're gonna be
Jersey.
outta here, yeah.
Somewhere.
I think I'm gonna be somewhere warm too, though, because I don't know if I want to do the winter. That's the only thing. Like when you're older, it's a drag, like
Yeah.
the driving and the,
And all of the shoveling the
and-
snow.
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
you're
yeah.
single, that's even worse.
I know.
Okay?
That's what I'm saying. I know
It's-
because I do it now, and I'm like, unless it's really, really bad, and the I call him the snow guy, but he's also the lawn guy.
Yeah.
But if it's really bad, then you need the snowblower. But other than that,
Hi, everyone on my live.
Yeah, I
Welcome
don't
to
know.
Let's Talk About It. I will be your co-host for about an hour or so, right, Missy?
Yep.
And we're
About
gonna
an
talk
hour
about
or so.
everything.
We're
We're
gonna talk
talking about
everything.
we're going to talk about Wendy. We're going to talk about abortions. We're going to talk about everything as it relates to pop culture.
Okay.
And we are ready.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's get it started.
All right.
I think we both came in and talking about Wendy Williams.
Exactly. She's been in the
And Wendy
news.
Williams, she has definitely been in the news lately, especially the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I guess what we've all heard now is that she has filed for divorce from her husband.
Long overdue.
Yeah, 28 years, I think they've been together.
Yeah,
right?
something
It's been a
22
long
or
time.
something
Yeah.
to that effect.
Yeah.
They've
And
been together for a while.
Let me just first say, though, I like Wendy Williams.
I do
like
too.
her a lot, and I like, you know what I like about? I like her hustle and I like her game. I remember when she was on the radio way back in the day, back in the 80s, when she was like on Kiss, I think, and then she was off. I think she went to Philadelphia, and then she came back
to
BLS.
Yes.
And that was like the early 2000s, something like that. And then I remember when Charlamagne was on her show, it was on the radio show.
She introduced Charlamagne too.
Right. And I liked her, and I was like, you know what? I like Wendy. I like her. I just like her hustle. I like her drive. I like to see like where she has. Where she's come from, she's just been really, getting better and better at what it is that, she does.
Absolutely.
So I was sad to hear, and I actually read her book. I think I have her book.
I read her book at one point or another.
I think it was a while ago. I read her book,
nice.
And she, she's gone through some things. She's gone through, she has been very open about her drug addiction, and back in the 80s when she was on the radio, she seemed to have overcome that, and then boom, I'm saying boom because it seemed like a month ago, all of a sudden, for me, I'm finding out that she's in a sober house. She had a relapse. Something's going on between her and her husband. And this isn't the first time that something is going on between her and her husband, because she wrote about it in her book. She wrote about an infidelity that had occurred. And this was, this was a while ago. So it appears as though Miss Wendy has had enough.
I think
she has had enough, and she has filed for a divorce.
Yeah, and I think for me, I know I can, for me, I can't speak for anybody else. I liked a lot of the things that she stood for. What we see today, on social media with the blogs and like the Shade Room and all of these different blogs, that was birthed from Wendy.
Yeah.
I liked. I can relate to her because she also comes from addiction. So I can relate to her in terms of that aspect of her life, and her recent relapse lets me know that it's still real out here, and that the disease of the disease of addiction, it's just always waiting, lurking in the background. So if you're not careful to really, stay green, stay grounded, stay around people, stay in the process.
Yeah, and take care of yourself, right?
And
Basically,
take care of yourself.
Right.
Things like this will happen. So when we talk about it from an addiction perspective, there were a lot of triggers there.
Right.
And I think for her going down that hole again, she had to catch herself, and she had to do something, and she had to do something really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And that was either continue to relapse and continue to be in and out of treatment facilities, sober houses,
right.
or get rid of the biggest trigger,
right,
which is the husband itself. Now, I know that there's a lot of things that she had to really think about, in terms of pulling the trigger.
Right.
Because trust me, this ain't his first, second, third, or fourth time. This is something that
this
he,
is ongoing.
this is what he does,
Yeah.
And I think what happened was when it became so open
Right.
to the point where she couldn't really hide it
Right.
anymore.
Right.
She had to speak truth to it.
Right.
When there's so many men out here that are so brazen, they'll have very good women at home, women who are, ambitious, driven, really just want to build a life for both themselves and their partner.
Right.
And those men will take these women for granted.
Yeah, I don't think Kevin Hunter was that, because I do think that I do think that really my phone's ringing. Kevin actually helped because I remember when she was on the radio and she was like, my husband Kevin. He really helped build this empire of Wendy Williams.
He did.
Yeah,
he did.
He helped build that empire for her. And I think that. And I can't, I can't take that away from him. I can't take that away from him. And he did help. Yeah.
That is absolutely correct. He did help her.
Right.
He was her manager.
Right.
And he did very well for her. He was kind of like the one that kept the sharks at bay.
Right, exactly. Right.
But what also we are finding out that he wasn't a nice person.
Yeah.
He wasn't a nice person. But at some point or another, somebody's calling in. Hey. Hold on a second. We have a caller. Let's see what's going on. Hello.
He did help. That is.
Caller, state your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, caller.
Hey, how you doing? This is Jim Ski. I'm from Plainfield, but I live out here in New Brunswick right now.
How you doing?
What's up, babe?
You calling
I
in?
just want to. I just want to drop in on this Wendy thing. Let me just set the tone right off the bat.
Okay.
I never really liked Wendy.
Okay.
But I respect what she does. I never really maybe it's part of my personality too. I'm an antagonist too.
Okay.
So what I'm going to say probably is going to be offensive in a little bit form, but hear me out before you pass judgment on me. The problem that I'm having with this Wendy situation that is made public. Now, I give her credit for being transparent and putting everything out there. But I do think there's some sacredity of the relationships that you must maintain in order to have good relationship. Now, the fact that she's been transparent and put everything in the book about her and her husband and different things, and now everything's coming to roost. The problem that I'm having with this is that she's never going to get a clear mind to make clear decisions because there's so many people feeding in on her situation. It's like we judge and jury. And being married before and transgressing a relationship and destroyed what I had made at a young age, and now in my older age, I look back on this now and I ask myself, what could I have done better? And I figured out everything that I could do better. I think that we as black people, and I don't even want to include nobody else, we are so judgmental on each other. We don't share love enough. And listen, her husband might have transgressed 1,000,000 times, but one thing I've learned is that we have to forgive each other. Now, I'm not saying she has to stay in that relationship or stay with that problem. If he doesn't want to correct his behavior, correct his lifestyle,
right,
I think that she must do what's best for her. But we are way too judgmental on and weighing in on people's stuff. But the reason why it was made public, and I understand.
I'm sorry. I completely get what you're saying in terms of, everybody having a front row seat to, what's going on in her life.
Right.
So it's hard for her to have a clear.
I don't think so. I think she's very clear on what it is that needs to happen in order for her to really live the life that she wants to live. I think. One second. I just want to get this thought out, right? I think for the most part, I don't think it's necessary that we're being judgmental. I have been on message boards, I've been on blogs, and the consensus is that everybody is supporting and rooting for her because they want to see her win. Now, what happens is I believe that at some point or another that her husband felt that she would never leave. No matter what.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And that's why he was so brazen with what was going on. And, even not necessarily the infidelity, because that does play a part, but then to have an outside child, this is where the disrespect comes in. And not only that, there's a lot of things that we've heard in the media of the domestic violence and all of these different things that have taken place throughout the course of their relationship. So I think, all of these things that she had been going through and the relapse and the sober house was what she needed to have a clear and level head in terms of the direction that she wanted her life to go in and making the best possible choice for her and her son, because obviously her husband wasn't doing that.
Yeah,
all right. You just laid out some facts. And then before I got on this call, and you laid out some more facts. Being married and being in a relationship before, of marriage relationship, not talking about boyfriend, girlfriend, not talking about man, friend, woman, friend. I'm talking about the covenant of marriage that they had shared. You said something, and what's your name, ma'am? Because
my name is Miss Melissa.
Miss Melissa.
Yes.
All right, because I probably don't know you until I see you up close. I probably know you if I see you up close, but I know the light skinned lady, thin lady next to you. We've been in class all our lives together, and we grew up together. So
you talking about Miss E, the beautiful Miss E.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say here is that you said something very pivotal in their relationship. He kind of made her. He kind of was the driving force to keep her in line.
Absolutely.
See, that's why I said everybody, we can't really, it's hard to judge now, because if you could actually say, if it wasn't for his stability at some point in their relationship, she wouldn't be where she is.
I think no. I think
you're correct.
I read Wendy's book, and I think what Kevin brought to the table for her, because she was in a very abusive relationship prior to Kevin, and I think what he bought for her was a level of security and a level of protection. And she's talked about her husband for many, many, many years. Her husband is, and in very glowing and positive terms. I don't think anyone is. I'm not getting the impression that anyone is judging her.
No.
Judging her. And to be honest
No,
with you,
no.
I'm not really getting the impression.
Her. I'm saying the judgment of her will be clouded because everybody's voice is being heard. In other words, this blog's all over the place about Wendy.
Yeah,
I don't put up 2 or 3. And I'm telling you, the response that I get on it, it's all over the place.
Yeah,
and if I paid attention to it a little bit, I would be off kiltered. But
I don't think she does pay attention to it. This is the thing. This is what I'm going to say. Wendy,
she does.
Hold on. This is the thing. Wendy Williams been doing this for a minute. I think she's
very,
smart
very
enough
media savvy
to know what to keep and what not to keep. But I also don't think that it's a judgment necessarily of her personally. I think a lot of people can relate to this situation, whether it happened to you, whether it's a friend of yours, the infidelity, the child outside of marriage.
It's so prevalent in our community. Exactly. That's why it's so relatable.
And it's really not even just in our community. It's just prevalent in society as a whole. And I think that from that standpoint, people do have an opinion about that, probably because you've either been through it yourself, maybe directly, or maybe even I mean, look at your family. Everybody got that kid that was everybody got the kid, the aunt, the cousin, the somebody that was so and so's kid that the relationship and the tree is a little shaky at that point, because you're like, where did this person come from? But I think what makes her case a little bit, and I think to me what promotes the discussion and promotes the thought for me is that how do you here's somebody that is in the public eye, here's someone that has I think she's taken control of the situation and control of the narrative, and I'm not mad at Wendy. And if you've been following her for a while, you know that she does take care of her business. Yes. She takes care of business.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
I do think that, I read something today where and I think I had said it, I don't think Kevin, for whatever he did, listen, adultery is adultery. I don't judge people on adultery. I do not judge people on that. However, I do think, though, that when they separate, that he is owed something. I do think that he played a big part in her career, because, again, when she got with him, Kevin was security for her. He was
Manager,
stability. He was
protector.
protection.
Chauffeur.
He was a
chauffeur.
lot.
He was
a
everything.
lot.
He was everything.
Right. He was
worked
everything
behind
for
the
her.
scenes to
and
get
I think
her where
that's
she
what
is.
Way
kept
behind
them
the scenes.
together all these years. And I also don't think, and you made an excellent point, I don't remember if it was before we got on the air or once we got on the air, but I don't think this is the first time. I think Wendy has like probably swallowed a lot of stuff, okay, and trying to keep things private, because for the most part, you know, in spite of what she does for a living, you really don't hear too much about her.
No,
you know,
no.
and she's not really a target of gossip columnists, you know, which is you know, a little, you know, ironic considering what she does.
Because she's
Yeah.
the
You know,
product
so I
in
think
that-
she's tried to
in
keep
that-
a lot of things
in that
private.
vein.
But now, listen, man, her health is at stake. She's in a sober house. You know what I'm saying?
And I
She's
think
in
the
a
best
sober
thing,
house.
and
That's
serious.
anytime anything happens to anyone, I think the best thing that you can do is take control of that narrative.
Exactly.
Because no one can share your story like
Right,
you can.
right.
So
You know, right.
instead of letting Radar and all these different blogs,
Right.
you know, start to speculate on
Right.
her marriage and start to kind of just add salt to the wound,
Right.
she's taking control of it. So this is how you know she's taking control of her life,
Right.
because she's saying, you know what? I've had it, you
Right.
know, and at some point, you know, you were married before, so you understand. What was your breaking point where you said, or your wife's breaking point when she was like, you know what, or you or her?
I've had
This
enough.
is
Right.
how we got to this argument.
Yes.
here. This is how this discussion comes up. And your colleague there probably know a little more about it than you do, because she knows me. I was in the same boat he was. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And at the time, as a man, every excuse in the world that you have, you think is correct.
Yes.
But when you step back from the situation and you look at the situation, understand the covenant that you broke and the pain that you caused the person that you said you loved and you're supposed to love, then you start to realize. But it takes time for a man to get to that. I always tell this. Listen, I can sit back and just pass judgment on whoever I want right away.
What's his name?
But did they get to the point in their life where they saw the pain that they caused?
I think,
Did
yeah.
they get repetitive?
It was this week, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this week.
Yeah,
I
no.
think,
I'm not just talking the knee-jerk reaction that he's doing because
no,
it's all public.
But Jinsky,
you will see it
listen.
in
This is
action.
after.
I'm
This
saying
is
he
after
should change
20.
as a man.
This is after 28 years, and what I'm saying is that we don't know how much stuff Wendy has swallowed.
Yeah.
You
But I
know,
also-
we don't
what
know
she's been
what
through.
she's been going through. What I'm saying is this is a woman that had been for all that we know, okay, clean and sober
Nobody
for
even
over
knew she
20
did
years,
drugs until she
right.
told you.
You know, and she is in a freaking sober house, a halfway house. Like, if that is not, I don't even want to say, like, I don't want to say it's like humiliating, but you know how much like courage it takes to be like, you know what, I'm done, I'm beat, I can't do this by myself anymore. For this situation to have taken that toll on her, I think it wasn't just this one incident. And even on that, I'm not even
agree.
judging
But I have a
either
question
one of
for
them
Jim
on
straw
that, you know.
It's the
But
straw that broke the camel's back.
But you know what, though,
it's
But it
the
was
straw
other
that
stuff
broke
on
the
there.
camel's back. And I say to her, yes, Wendy, for all the words and for all the talk that she has, this is what I would have expected her to do. Take the bull by the horn, stand up, put your big girl drawers on, and say, look, I have to do what's best for me.
And that's exactly what she's
I
doing.
have to do what's best
And
for
that's
me.
exactly what she's doing.
And they have a son together. Don't forget that.
And she's trying to keep it as
Right.
amicable as possible
Right.
for her son.
Right.
You know, but Jimsky, I have I heard what you said in terms of, you know, your life or your marriage is sort of like parallel to Kevin and Wendy's in terms of the infidelity. So no,
all you want at that time as a man, a time to grow up.
no,
Yeah,
but
listen,
Everybody,
and I understand what you're
listen.
saying, but listen, Jimsky, you were a younger man, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Kevin
Yeah.
Hunter is not. He's a middle-aged man. He's old enough to know better. If you talking about somebody in their 20s and early
So-
30s, okay.
but this is
yes,
why I wanted to
everybody
ask
makes
him.
those mistakes, and I think she swallowed that because this isn't the first infidelity. She wrote about another one in her book.
Yeah,
You
he's been
know?
doing this ever since they
Right.
met. But I have a
So-
question for you. One
But
second,
now
go
they're
ahead.
grown. They're grown.
So Jimsky, is that could that be the reason why you relate so much to Kevin and you have this kind of underlying tension or whatever it is that
Well,
you
one
have
of-
for Wendy? Because
well,
one
one
of
of
my
the things that
commenters,
triggered me-
I just want to say one of my
One of the-
commenters feels like this. He said, "I don't think Kevin was about Wendy from the beginning. I think her husband saw an opportunity and took advantage."
Well, listen. Hold on. And everybody who says things like that, I question how you think. If you're not trying to better yourself in all situations, who gets in a relationship with a man and don't think he's marriage material? Who does that? I ask people this question. I asked my son before he started dating. I said, "Why date a girl that you don't think you can marry? What are you doing? Why do that to her? Why don't you do to you? Why do that? Why waste time?" Pick people
But
that
in your
you
20s,
want
you're not
to
thinking like that.
excel-
In your
Yeah,
20s,
yeah,
you're
your
thinking
20s,
about
yeah.
having fun,
Yeah.
enjoying the world, and so
Yeah,
forth and
but-
so on.
but that
Now you
seems to
start
be-
thinking about things like that when you're in your 30s, mid 30s, and you're looking to
Exactly.
settle down. Now you
Exactly.
say to yourself, when I choose the man for me, I want to make sure that this is somebody that is a protector, a provider,
Mm-hmm.
someone that I see myself spending the rest of my life with.
And I,
you know,
and I,
Mm-hmm.
I
who's a
don't
leader.
See, I'm not. Listen, nobody's perfect, okay? But
No,
I
no one.
don't see Kevin as not being one of those things. At some point in her life, he was one of those things, if not all of those things.
And he was.
They've been together a long, long time, you know.
Well,
and
this is the question I ask to set it off. And this would be the question I ask to Wendy. Forget about love, because we know he violated love. And love, if he loved her, he would be doing the right thing. I learned that about love. Love is not what I feel. It's how I make someone else feel.
Yeah,
That's
I don't think he
love.
loved Wendy. I just think they tolerated each other.
Exactly. Now, this
Maybe
is
it
the
was a
question I
business
ask, and I'll be
partnership.
good with
It
her.
was a partnership.
Any
Yeah.
answer she give me, does he have value to you anymore?
I don't
If
think
he doesn't
does.
have any
Yeah,
value,
he doesn't.
He doesn't add any
He
value
doesn't.
anymore
He
because
doesn't.
what happened,
Right.
the reason why he doesn't add
Clear it
any
out.
value anymore is because now he's introducing other people into what we have.
Right.
So now that depreciates the value that we have for each other.
Right.
My thing is that even if Kevin was doing what he was doing, the fact that he was so brazen about it lets me know that he was not respectful of the union and the vows that he took.
well,
He wasn't respectful
from
of that.
personal-
You know, buying
I
this
get you on
woman,
that.
you know, getting this woman pregnant, you know, buying this woman, you know, $215,000 Ferraris and you know, luxury bags and gifts and all of these different things.
That's
And
hush
that
money,
came
though.
that came off the backbone and sweat of that woman.
Yeah, that's hush money, though. Sweet, trust me.
It's not
as a man.
necessarily, you know what? I mean, I know you can brush
I'ma
it off
tell
and
you,
say,
trust me
yeah,
as
that's
a
hush
man.
money. But the fact of the matter is that's a value system that is broken.
Yeah, and I think she's
I get that.
recognized that value system is broken, and I say kudos to her for recognizing that and saying, you know what, it's time for me to move on to a new chapter of my life. It's time to excise Kevin from this partnership because I think probably after a
Retire
while
him
this
from
was
this
a business
Yeah,
partnership.
and after a while,
You
the
know?
love is
Right,
no
I
longer
think
there.
after a while,
after that,
right, it was
because
a
he's not
business
leaving the
partnership.
woman that
Right,
he's with.
exactly,
He's
right.
not leaving her.
Right, and I don't think she would have ever left Kevin, even in spite of some other things. I mean, I think this was like probably the
Because
straw
it was
that
in the
broke.
open.
Right,
it was
right,
in the open, and he
right.
became very
Right,
brazen
and
about
also,
it.
and also because it affected her health. You know what I'm saying? Like again,
She's getting older.
You know,
she's getting older. She's got
you
all
like-
these health
you-
issues, and instead of you being for better or
I'm
worse,
relapsing into
who I used to be when that's not where I am anymore.
That's got to
So that's when she's like, you gotta go.
You gotta go.
And you
Right.
know what? We respect. I respect Wendy for, like you said, grabbing the bull by the horn and taking control of the narrative.
Right.
You know, and doing what needs to be done.
Doing what
And
needs to
trust
be
me,
done, right.
trust me. She had more than enough time to think about what it is that she wanted for the rest of her life in order for it to be the best of her
Right,
life.
right,
And
right.
she knew that. she needed to get rid of him. So that sober house was sort of like a blessing in disguise for her because it gave her the opportunity to put things in perspective.
Yeah.
What's working and what isn't.
Right.
Okay.
Right,
and
right.
so the best thing for her to do is to cut ties, sever ties, because at the end of the day, she's raising a 19-year-old son that's seeing all this. And we don't even know the impact that it has on her
the
son,
son,
who's
right.
in college right now. We don't know if he's showing out
Right.
behind this and
Right.
all of these different
And we
things
don't
that are
even
going
know
on.
if he even knew
know
about
the
it ahead
impact
of
that it
time.
has on her son.
You know, he could have. You don't know.
Okay, so let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
So the buyout clause that he's asking for, should she adhere to it?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know. How
I
much
do.
is he asking
I think
for?
It was $10 million.
Oh, if
10
it's
million?
Yeah,
if it's
I
10,
agree.
give
Yeah.
it to him and go.
I think he
Because Wendy stands to make a lot more.
Right.
You know what? Wendy's with this situation is not only a blessing in disguise for her. She stands to make a whole lot more. And I'm going to tell you, and I said it on my Facebook thread, and I'm going to continue to say it. After this divorce, she's going to have fun. She's going to enjoy herself. But her next marriage, if in fact she does get married, it's going to be to a rich Jewish white older man.
Really?
That's going to take great care of
You
her.
think so?
Yeah, I can
well,
see
I
it.
won't
Okay,
endorse.
I can see
I
it.
won't endorse. I won't publicly endorse swirling.
I see it. I see it.
I don't-
I
I
see
don't know
it.
about that, but
I see it.
And
you
I
know
don't
what?
endorse. See, this is aggravating.
I don't know about that, but I think that she's
I don't
gonna have
endorse
fun
swirling.
for a little
She's
while.
gonna have fun.
Yeah, I think
but
she's
the
gonna have
next
fun.
man that she's gonna be dealing with, this man is going to be somebody that has more than her. That has a
I
lot
think-
more
really
than
don't
her.
I think I agree with that. I think that
But
she'll probably be with
I
someone
really-
that has more than her. But you know what? At the time between when she got with Kevin, Wendy wasn't making this kind of money either. Like again, they've been together a long time. So
I could be wrong, but I don't think she has that value.
I think
really
she
don't
does.
think-
I think
I
she
think
does.
she does. I
Because
think
nobody
she
knew
does.
about Kevin until she started talking about him. When you saw, he was the mastermind behind the brand itself. Because remember, she's a brand, so he was the mastermind behind the brand itself. Let me tell you something. This is a new day and age. You have people that are trained to go harder than him.
Yeah.
You understand
Yeah.
that
I mean, you
know
got
her
young
brand.
kids coming out of her son
Yeah.
can manage her.
Yeah.
I mean,
She'll
you
be
got
fine.
Kids coming out of college that are
Her
like
ratings are
a
going to
lot
go
more
up.
savvy,
They've gone
yeah.
up now. So
Yeah.
this is what I'm saying to you. Her brand is better without him. Because the negativity that's coming to her brand, she got to get rid of it right
Yeah, I
now.
think she
She's
has
got
to
to get rid of it.
that.
So
Yeah.
take the $10 million and you go and enjoy it with your masseuse and your other
But you know what?
part,
I
your
will
other
say
life.
this though, and I think we talked about this a little bit. Is that
Because that $10 million is going to run out. I'm going to tell you that much.
yeah? But I don't think
Yeah,
Kevin's
well,
a dummy.
he
Though.
gotta
I'm not
No.
gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that because
Hopefully
Kevin
he
is,
invests it
Kevin is a hustler.
wisely.
Yeah,
No, he's
Kevin's
not.
a hustler.
How- how would he
I mean, I
invest
don't know
if he was
personally,
giving
but
away all the
this guy's a hustler.
Wendy's going to,
Right.
like my commenter said, Wendy's going to write another book.
Oh, she's gonna write
Oh,
another
she's
book,
gonna write
and
another
it's gonna be
book.
even a bigger seller.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be
She might
Talking
put a
about
five series.
how to bounce
Yeah,
back after
yeah.
your divorce.
Yeah, she's gonna write a
She's-
book.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
the brand is
Well,
about
if-
to
if
expand.
If not a movie and all
A
that,
movie,
yeah,
talk
yeah.
shows,
And
you know,
what?
just
You
seeing
don't
her all
know-
over.
You don't know what Kevin might have been like. I don't want
Behind
to
the
say
scenes.
holding her back from, but it might have been a lot of things he was blocking. That opportunities that maybe she didn't take advantage of. So
Because
you don't
he probably
know.
didn't think it
right,
fit
exactly,
her brand and
right,
everything.
Right.
But
So
she's
you don't know.
she's going to exhaust. She's going to exhaust her effort. I will say before we move on to the next topic, I think that Wendy's going to be absolutely fine. I think it's time for her to get rid of this cancer and just move on. I honestly do. There is no more that needs to be said. She's been publicly humiliated, publicly disrespected, and then on top of it, for you to have an outside child outside of a bond that you created with
You know what? I
someone,
don't think she's
that's
been
more than
and
enough.
to me, though, I know
Hey,
she's
can
been
I have a
embarrassed
part
and
in
stuff, but I
shop?
don't know if she's been humiliated. She's been embarrassed, but I think by
Can
her
I-
like stepping up to just confronting the situation.
I think there was some
it
air of
takes-
humiliation, but she
think-
grabbed the
right,
bull by the
exactly,
horn.
Right.
And-
I think to a certain extent, yes, she probably was humbled by it, but I think it does take a lot of courage to say, you know what, this is what it is. and this is
And
what
she's
I'm
setting
gonna
an
do.
example to a lot of
Right,
women
yeah.
out there that suffer from, let's say, low self-esteem, that think that they can't move on in the world unless they're still with this man. So she's setting a great example to say, you know what? I've been through this. I've been with this man for 20 some odd years,
It's
and I'm
easy,
still
though, but it's
moving
easy.
on.
It's easy when you got the money to move on.
Well, can I have
It's
a party
easy.
shot?
It's easier when you got the money though, because think
It's
all the
easier
time
when you
she
have
didn't.
self-esteem.
Yeah, and it's also easier when you got the money.
True.
If you don't have the money,
Coupled
you
with
know,
the self-esteem,
right,
because
exactly.
there's a lot of people that have money,
Right, and they don't have any self-esteem.
and they don't have any
right,
self-esteem.
Exactly, and then, but let's not minimize. I read something yesterday, and they were talking about relationship
show you guys Miss
goals
E.
and
Miss Ellen.
why your grandmother and this was about Wendy. It was about Wendy, and it was like, what. You talk about your grandmother and your grandfather staying together for years and years, but maybe it was because your grandmother couldn't move on. Maybe because your grandmother didn't have the means. It doesn't necessarily mean that, their relationship was so great. Maybe she just couldn't move on. And when you have your own, it can make it easier monetarily and financially. I talked about these 14 points here in New Jersey on how or why you would get alimony, and they were all financial. None of them had anything to do with morality, with values. It was all financial, so it's just case in point, ladies, just keep your own, just keep
It's
your
good
own.
to have your own.
It's good to have
It's
your
good.
own.
He can
It's
have
always
his own,
good.
but it's also good to
Right.
have your own.
It's good to have your own. God bless the child that has his own,
Oh,
right? That's right.
absolutely.
All right, so I'm done talking about Wendy because we could talk about her all night.
Yeah.
So what's up, Miss? What's up, Miss Melissa?
Oh, well, what else? Well, you want to close out Jimski?
He's going.
He's gone.
He hung
Okay.
up. Thank you for
He must
calling,
have- thank
Jimsky.
you.
Appreciate
We
the comment.
appreciated your
They were
feedback.
good. Thank you. It was good to have a male point of view on that.
He
Thank you.
came
Appreciate
on a
it.
little salty. Let's really be honest. He
No,
came
that's
on a
just
little.
who he is. That's
But
who he is. He
I'm
wasn't-
glad that we were able to have that dialogue where
was
we had
good. Yeah, it
different
was good.
perspectives. We had the male perspective
yeah.
and we had our perspective
Right.
on it. And you know what? At the end of the day,
And I
when
do
you,
think that he does deserve something.
oh yeah,
from-
yeah, yeah. That's not
I think
even
he
to be
does.
taken lightly.
'Cause I
He
know
does
people are
deserve.
saying,
If he's asking for
gotta
the
be
10
equal,
million, if he's asking for the 10 million, I would
he
give it to him
deserves
and keep
He
going
deserves
because
it.
she
Right.
stands to make a lot
Right,
more.
right. She stands to make a lot more, and also, again,
It's an expensive mistake.
Kevin did help her, and
Yeah.
you can't say he didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you have all that wrapped in manager and
Right. Exactly.
executive
The
producer.
business, right. All
There's the
ties,
business
right,
of it.
right.
It's a lot going on. Hi
Right.
guys, thank you guys for joining us. We
what's
were
up?
just talking about Wendy. We didn't think it was going to take us half an hour,
I know,
but
I
I'm
know.
glad that we were able to unpack, and I'm glad that we were able to, kind of dissect what's going on with her and how it relates to, the everyday woman,
Right.
in terms of dealing with infidelity and all of those things. So, yeah, so I'm thinking, the next thing in the news is about the legislation and this abortion, like,
Okay.
in terms
right.
of women and, their bodies and what they have a right to do. And this legislation always comes from the body of old men that want to tell you what to do with your body.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And it be those same old men climbing on top of these young girls. But you want to tell me what to do with my body.
Same old men that legislate, as far as okay, once you have that baby, then what?
Yeah.
You have a baby that, a woman that's of very little means. Then what? You don't want to, make any laws or anything to help her out so she can, get on her feet. It's. I don't know. I mean, for me, I think that there's a lot of states now where they are infringing on a woman's right really to choose.
Yeah.
Choose whether or not you want to go forth with your pregnancy, because really that's what it's about.
But why
It's
do you
whether
get
or
to
not-
why do you get to make that choice for me? in terms of whether or not I want to go forth with a pregnancy.
Well, I think because people put these laws in place. That's why. Because somebody has put a bill forth that says, after X amount of weeks or X amount of, X amount of weeks, you can no longer terminate your pregnancy, and it really depends on what state you live in. Like in New Jersey, we don't have those kind of, New Jersey, New York, we don't have those kind of restrictive laws. But there are states where, mostly like conservative states where they do put those laws in place. And, I don't know. I think people have to get involved, and it's really like, how do people feel about, abortion? There are people that have very strong feelings against it, and there are people that have very strong feelings. I don't think anyone is necessarily pro-abortion. I think the issue is
it's a woman's choice.
Right, it's your
I think
choice.
I don't.
Right, it's
yeah.
pro-choice. Whether you want to go forth with this pregnancy, or whether or not you want to terminate, this pregnancy. Is a woman's choice, but there's laws with that. There's at some point, they put a timeline in that says you can or you cannot, or are you talking about a specific case that you read about?
No. I just I was getting dressed the other morning for work, and I had the TV on, and I just was hearing slightly about it. I don't like to talk too much on stuff that I'm not fully versed on in terms of, in order to give a full unbiased opinion.
Right.
I just was hearing bits and pieces that, legislation was taking place, or a bill, there was a bill that was trying to come forth in terms of, how long a woman can carry a fetus before, terminating the pregnancy. And, the thought that entered my mind was, who gave you the right to tell me when I can terminate this pregnancy? As a lawmaker, who gave you that right?
Sure.
Well,
I mean, it's like it's the laws. It's who gives you the right to do anything. Somebody puts a bill for, and each state is different. There are certain states where abortion is really almost like it's all but like illegal because of the restrictions that they have put in place to limit a woman's right to choose. That's going on in a lot of places, but I think
you have
that's
like these old men, and I got to be specific. I don't want to, you have these old white men in Congress telling me what to do with my body.
I think,
and that's what frustrates me the most. It's not like it's women that are coming together and saying
it is women. Sometimes
sometimes some of them, the conservative old white. But what I'm saying is that who gives you a right? Like, you don't even know what's going on.
I think. I think.
It's such a hard topic,
It's a hard topic, and it's complicated because on a federal level, you have a right to terminate your pregnancy on a federal level. That's what Roe v. Wade gives you.
Yes.
But a state can put their own, restrictions and laws and things like that in place from state to state, just like gun laws, right? Second Amendment says you have the right to bear arms, but gun laws vary from state to state. So in New Jersey, the gun laws are a lot more restrictive. In New York State, they're a lot more restrictive, but in Pennsylvania, they're not. So when it comes to abortion, each state decides they can't make abortion illegal, okay? Because federally, it is not illegal. But what they do to slowly chip away at your right, if you are pro-choice, your right to terminate your pregnancy, what they slowly do is introduce these bills that say after, 6 weeks, you can no longer terminate your pregnancy. If you are under the age of 18, you have to have,
parental consent and all of these different
and
things.
all of those things. What if you are a teen? What if you're 16? And your parent does not give you parental, consent to
Get rid
you
of
know,
it
to terminate, you know,
so
your
now what?
pregnancy.
And you don't
now
even want
what?
it.
Right. So there, you know, there are those restrictions, you know, and it again, like, it varies from state to state. You know, I think the danger is that when you, I don't know. I mean, for myself personally, I'm pro-choice, and what that means is, I think that you have the right to do what you think is best. If you want to terminate your pregnancy, you have the right to do that. If you want to carry your baby to full term, you also have
that right.
Yeah, you
Yes.
have the right to do that. It's pro-choice. You choose what is, you know, best for you. But I think a lot of times, depending on, you know, and sometimes it's not all old white men. You know, sometimes it's women too. You know, we are, you know, they're more conservative. They're more religious. You know, they feel that life begins at conception. You know, so it just gets so complicated. You know, but I think if you are a pro-choice, you know, advocate, you have to pay attention to the things that are going on. You have to pay attention
Because they're
to the
trying to
people
strip your rights.
Yeah, you have to pay attention to, and this is what bothers me when people say, you know, your vote doesn't count.
It does.
It does count,
Mm-hmm.
because this is the kind of stuff where it does count.
Let me ask you a question as pro. Is there a limit? Like, would you approve of someone at 5 months, 4 months? Because I know at 4 months, a lot of people can feel a baby move, swim, is actually a baby. So what's the limit as a pro, or is there no limit? Because to me, you actually, at a certain level, I mean, I'm pro-choice.
Right.
But I'm just saying, but with restriction for me.
Right.
Because I feel like I cannot see someone at 4 or 5 months, you know, abort. That's just my opinion.
I think it
you know.
depends. I think that, I mean, right, and I think that's your opinion. This is my opinion. I think if the law says that you have up until, and I don't know what the law is in New Jersey, but I think the law in New York, because something came up not too long ago. I think the law in New York says you have up into 24 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Oh my
to
gosh.
terminate your
Are you
pregnancy.
serious?
Yeah. So
Wow.
to me, whatever that law says, okay, if that's what you choose to do, to me, that's what you choose to do.
But see,
And if
this
the
is where I
law
struggle.
If the law says you have up until, I'm not saying that everybody waits until, listen, you could be a teenager. Listen, how many times I shouldn't say how many times. I know of some cases when I was in school, and girls didn't know they were pregnant. Or maybe they were in denial, because they're teenagers.
So I have a question,
So
right?
maybe, and when you're a teenager and you're pregnant, you think you're going to the doctor like you're supposed to? No, you're not.
That
Right?
happened to me.
You're probably in denial. You're probably not going. You probably may or may not even know why your cycle has stopped. And then as your body is changing again, you can be in complete denial. Okay.
So-
or just, ignorant to the
Yeah.
fact,
So that's one.
So at that point, she could be easily 16 weeks along, before she even really, before someone says, girl, you gaining weight, and then she's like, okay, what do I do? I'm scared. Where do I go? Do you go to your mother? So she could be further along, before, she decides to do something. Okay.
I think for me,
Mm-hmm.
you have very great points. They're all valid. But I think for me, can you be pro-choice, but like restricted? And forgive me if this is ignorance, because for me, like I love your point where you talk about, a teenager and,
Right.
not even knowing, and the
Right,
body
right,
changes and
right.
stuff. But for me, I feel like, yeah, every woman should have a right, to the choices that they make, because the choices that you make are predicated on, the outcome of how your life is going to be. But what I'm saying is that oh God, I want to say this, but I don't want to seem like I'm being insensitive because I'm not.
No,
Like,
go ahead, say
like I'm pro-choice, but I feel like, you know, at 5 or 6 months when that baby is fully formed, like I'm like, nah, you got to keep that. You know, I feel like that's murder at that point. You
Well,
know, at
I mean,
5,
I
6
think
months when the
there's
baby is
adoption,
fully
you can give it up
formed.
for
And
So
I
this
think
is what I'm
that's where-
saying.
That's where laws come in to
Yeah.
say that after a certain
Time.
time period, you cannot get an
Okay,
abortion.
so
You know,
okay,
you
because
can't terminate that pregnancy after, and each state is different.
But
and
I
like
can
I
ex- I
said,
can agree
like,
to that.
Yeah, each state is different. In some states, it can be up to 24 weeks. In some states, it can be like 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, so it just depends on the state. For me,
I mean, 6 to 8 weeks is a big difference than 24 weeks.
is
I
a
mean,
big
that
difference. It
that's a
is.
totally foreign. Like, for me, I feel like, you know,
But
I'm
for
pro-choice
me-
to a point.
well,
like,
for
you know,
me,
once that
I-
baby starts breathe, like, and that's the thing, because we can talk about it like, you know, life begins at, you know, conception,
Right,
or
right.
does it begin weeks later
I
on when
think-
the heart beats and all of these
Yeah.
different things. So it's complex in and of itself
It
to
is.
even have this conversation, because a part of me is like, yeah, I am pro-choice, but if that baby is now 4 or 5 months, like, nah, that baby deserves a chance.
I just for myself, and I don't mean to be harsh about this, but I am pro-choice, and I feel like within the law, whatever that law is, that you can terminate your pregnancy,
Yeah.
that you have the right to do it. I mean, I
Okay.
don't think there's any state that will say, you know, up until, you know, 7 months or 8 months, something
Okay.
like that. At that point, that's not an abortion. You're not aborting a fetus at that point. But I think
Like 4 to 6 weeks or 4 to 8 weeks.
lawfully, you know, I think that, yeah, I'm pro-choice as long as you do it, like, you know, within the law, you know, within the law. Yeah, within the law, you know,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I mean, it's a touchy
But
subject,
it
'cause even
is
4 to 8
because
weeks
it's
is
like, how can you be
know,
pro-choice and be for women, but yet you still have a restriction? You know,
I
so
don't
it's so,
really, yeah, I don't know, and I know this is really gonna sound harsh. I don't have a restriction. I don't.
No,
No, I
I
don't.
do. I just
don't.
feel like if
I
a
don't.
baby is fully formed,
I feel like that's. I don't want to get like too deep about it, but it's, you have a right to decide what happens to your body, and that baby's still in your body, and that's how I feel about it. Again, I'm like, let's use some common sense, all right? No one's getting an abortion at 9 months. That's not an abortion. You know what I mean? You're not aborting a fetus at 9 months, okay? But what about when, you know, a girl, like this happened like not too long ago, a girl had a baby on the plane and left the baby, you know, on the plane.
really?
You know, yeah, she was a teenager, and she had a baby in the bathroom, you know, on the plane, you know, and you know, she left the baby.
Did they find
You
her?
know, I don't know if they found her. I think they did find her, but, and I know this is gonna sound incredibly like liberal, but I don't know. I know people are like, oh, you know, I think the baby died, or, you know, but it you know, it was like, I don't know. It's hard because it's like I don't know. Maybe she was just afraid. I mean, I have like,
It's like, did you
empathy.
know if she knew?
yeah, she knew, but I think she was not thinking.
But then what makes her different from from Brenda, who throws the baby in the trash can?
Nothing makes her different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nothing makes her different. But I think when you don't give a woman a choice, you know, that's the consequences. You know, when she doesn't have a choice to perhaps make a better decision earlier on,
Mm-hmm.
you know, maybe that's the consequences. You know,
True.
fear, you know,
True.
could be the consequence. You know, it's the
I
consequences.
never looked
of
at it like
fear.
that.
You know,
That's a great
if,
perspective.
you know, there were, you know, I mean, abortion wasn't, we all know,
But
wasn't
this is a
always
topic-
legal, but this is like, it's a hot topic. It's a very controversial topic. But women have always had abortions. Women have always wanted to terminate. I'm not saying every woman, but there were pregnancies that women wanted to terminate.
But then again,
and I think that you should have a right.
But then
to
you
do
have
that.
women who use it as a form of birth control.
I think okay. Yeah, okay.
It's like.
Do you think women really use abortion as a form of birth control? Is that
Yeah, some.
Okay.
Some, not all.
Yeah,
but
I
there's
think it's
some,
very small. Yeah.
I mean, it's probably a small subset, but
very small,
they're there,
Yeah.
especially with the age of social media now,
Right.
And all of you have these they call them quote unquote thoughts and all this, like chasing a lifestyle,
right,
that's for them.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean they end up pregnant though. It doesn't necessarily mean that. They could be thoughts and not end up pregnant.
True.
I'm not mad at the thoughts, all right? I'm not. You do what you need to do. Well, I'm not even mad at you, but I don't think they end up pregnant. I think and not all of them. Clearly, I think some of them are probably very savvy at what it is that they do, But and then there are some, that do end up pregnant. Just like there's some good girls that end up pregnant. Just like there's girls that this was their first time, and they end up pregnant. For whatever reason.
But I do think that I do think that as long as the options are there for them,
I think the options should be there. The choice should be there.
And I think that it's something that if need be, they do have that option,
Right.
I don't think that should be taken away from them, which it's not going to. Oh, hi.
Caller, state your name and where you're calling from.
I'm from Baltimore.
How are you?
What's your name?
My name's Jimmy, and I fucking hate niggers.
Oh.
Nigger.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye,
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Bye, Jimmy.
We appreciate
You
you.
have a good
Like, what's so
Wow.
crazy? You call in and you say that. And for us, we don't even respond to that word anymore. That word does nothing for us. You
Thanks,
can call
Jimmy.
us
That's
niggers
good.
and all of that.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah,
Jimmy.
yeah.
Thanks, Jimmy, for
Thanks,
calling
Jimmy.
and
Jimmy.
letting us know that you.
Okay.
That's probably Jimmy calling back.
I'm gonna say if it is. I'm gonna
He's calling us, telling us he hates niggers. Let's see. Maybe not.
Hello, thank you for calling. Can you state your name,
Honestly,
caller?
fuck niggers, dude.
Oh, you're again.
Okay, I'm not answering the next one.
Yeah. So, we have someone calling in that keeps
I don't
repeating the
even-
N word.
Forget it. Yeah,
That doesn't even bother us.
Forget it. Yeah.
Doesn't even bother us. And I think that's the problem. Like, we have learned to turn
It was
turn
more-
that
no, I'm
word
just kidding. I'm just
into.
kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah. That word doesn't affect us anymore. So you have to try a different word.
But anyway, so what else?
I know.
What
I
else
was
you
just
wanna talk
distracted
about?
by that.
I wasn't distracted at all.
Jimmy done,
Not at all.
Jimmy
is
done changed the energy up in here.
No, he has changed the energy for no one. No one.
No, but no, no, we're having a good time, just talking about different things. Anything else that you want to talk about? Anything else?
I mean, the Wendy Williams thing was like a big thing
Yeah.
for me. I know I don't really feel like talking about.
Nothing heavy tonight,
No,
right?
not really.
I don't feel like talking about
I
Donnie.
don't feel like talking about any of that.
Yeah.
tonight. I just
needed
people to
something
vote.
light
But I
to-
was gonna say this though, when people say your vote doesn't count, like this is the kind of stuff where it does count for.
Stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, well, no, not even this, but I'm talking about like how can I block that? Can I block that?
No, he
No, he called back. But like like a woman's right to choose or denying a woman's right to choose. It just seems that there's a little bit more to it. There's judges, there's lawmakers, there's a lot of people involved with that. And when you don't vote, if you feel passionately, either side of the coin that you're on, then I think that
It's
to me,
important to
it's
vote,
something
period.
that
It
it's
is.
something that you would vote on. You
Yeah,
know
it's
what I'm
important
saying?
to vote,
or vote for
period.
people that that are going to
That have
either
your
be
interests.
aligned with your interests.
Yeah, because people always say, well, why vote? Because my vote doesn't count. But what they don't realize is them pretty much brainwashing you. They want you to believe. Maybe
Right.
one or two may not vote, but I mean, may not, it's not worth anything. But if you go to a poll and your name is not there, that's why it's very important to make sure months prior that you're registered,
Right.
because it's important to vote. Because if you don't vote and that's the mentality you have, guess what? Then your vote really won't
your
count.
vote really won't count.
But I
And
think
this
we,
is
I
kind
think
of
we
stuff
know that our votes count because look at President Obama. You know,
Yes,
that was
but
yeah, but
after-
even I think your vote even counts in a bigger way that
And
you
at a
don't
local
even,
level.
Yeah, like
Yes,
much
that's
much more
on the local
far-reaching,
level.
You know, far-reaching circumstances. Like case in point, you know, you look at whoever is president. You know, they get to appoint like federal judges. You know, federal judges, that's a lifetime position. That's not a
Yes.
4-year, 8-year term. That is a lifetime position. So whoever is in office, let's say, you know, their ideals run a little bit more, you know, to the left or a little bit more to the center or
To the
much
right.
more to the right. Who do you think they're going to appoint to these, you know, to the federal bench? You know, they're going to appoint people that are much more conservative.
That they
people
want in their
have their
cabinet.
beliefs. And then
Yeah.
you ask about abortion. You know, you ask about criminal justice reform. This is where that stuff gets handled. You know, the appeals process, all of that stuff. So to me, it's not really understanding like the far-reaching, you know, circumstances of you, you know, voting, or the far-reaching consequences of voting and or not voting. You know, your vote does count. You know, but if people want to believe, and I agree with you, I think that you know, that's what they want you to believe, that your vote doesn't count. You know, how many times you see people, they don't vote, and then you know, they want to know, how come this happened? How come that happened? How come the police don't get charged? Well, you know why? Because you didn't vote for the district attorney. That's why. You know, because somebody else may have been running that would have been more in line with your thoughts and your beliefs.
And your
but if
core.
you don't vote, you know, the sheriff is in New Jersey, the county sheriff. That's an elected position. You know, in most states, the DA is an elected position. Or even if these people are appointed, they're appointed by politicians that you did or did not vote for. I'm not saying that politicians are the be-all, end-all. No, I'm not saying that, okay? But they are the people that make the laws. You know, we started this particular segment on abortion and why do old white men make the laws on this? You know why? Because old white men are the people that get voted in office.
Exactly.
You know, and
that's,
they're
and
not
there you have
they're
it.
not voted in by osmosis. They're voted in by people.
Yes.
All right. So, anything else other than that? I think
No, I
you
want
all
to.
right?
I want to
Go
do a
ahead.
shameless plug before
Yeah.
we leave. You know, 1 second. I do want to thank you, Maria, for having me on. It's
Oh,
always a
awesome.
pleasure.
Also a pleasure.
You know, every time that you call me and ask me to be a part of this, I never say no because I love this. I love, you know, being able to speak on different topics, you know, and if I don't know something, I usually tend to step back. But again, thank you so much
No,
for
thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you.
But I do want to kind of plug my fashion show and, you know, my little stuff that I'm doing. So I don't know if you could see this on the up here. Probably
Post
not.
it on page. Tag it to our Let's Talk
Yeah,
About
Okay,
Put
so
it on the
I'll
page.
tag it,
Yeah.
but it is my flyer for my upcoming fashion show. Well, not mine. It's a group of women. So
Put it on the camera.
I'm trying to put it on the camera. Okay, there you go. So it is our upcoming fashion show. Every day is my runway 2 hair and fashion extravaganza. Let me tell you something about this show. The show is actually fun. We have a good time.
Okay.
Every year we have just an amazing time. We you know, you have designers, both fashion designers and hairstylists showing their latest creations.
Right.
So it's always a good time. This time we're having it at Central Park in Roselle, New Jersey. It's a bigger venue, and you know, there's a lot more parking and stuff like that. So we thought about the people when we decided to put it on again for the second year in a row. So, you know, if you'd like to support, you know, if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, all you have to do is inbox me. Tickets are going very fast.
Okay.
You can inbox me on Facebook. and I can, arrange to meet you and sell you a ticket, or I can send you to the website to purchase your ticket. The show is on April 28th, so you only have a few more days to purchase your tickets. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be fun, and I'm excited.
Okay. All right. Good. Good luck to you.
Thank
I have
you.
to work April 28th.
I know,
That's
because
like-
I know you would be there if you
I know
didn't.
that's like the last Sunday of the month. That's like
It's crazy, right?
crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I want to thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it. It was fun. I know it
Absolutely.
was fun to just be like the girls and stuff.
Just the girls,
And,
right? Girls'
yeah.
night.
Mhm,
Girls'
it was
night
girls'
out.
night,
And
yep.
just talking.
Yeah,
I think,
yep,
talking about that Wendy situation. Like I said, I think it's relatable because a lot of women, have either been through that, whether married or just in a relationship and dealing with infidelity
Yeah,
and things like that.
absolutely,
So I
absolutely.
think that was very relatable, in terms of talking about that.
Yeah,
And a lot of people feel
absolutely.
some way about her because, she's been spilling tea forever
Right.
and, it's good for her and all this stuff. But
I
that
don't
was her
think that.
job.
Yeah, I don't- I
That's
don't
her
think
job.
that.
That's no
Yeah.
different than
I
being on a
actually
job for
didn't
years.
Read a lot. I didn't read a lot about that, like about anybody like.
I saw
coming at her
some.
from- You did?
I saw
Yeah,
some. I
okay.
saw some, but for the most part, like I said, the
Yeah.
consensus was that everybody was just like, get rid of that
did-
cancer.
yeah,
it was
yeah,
time,
yeah. Do what you gotta
So
do. Right,
they,
right.
they're calling him
Handle your
Ken.
business.
They're calling him Ken Do 2.0.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. So we want you all to stay tuned to our show, which is every other Thursday on BKS One Radio at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And our next show is going to be Thursday, May 2nd. And I'm assuming that everybody will be back in effect, back in their seats. I missed you guys. Dean Geronimo, Black Ops, and Wonder.
I haven't seen him in so long.
I know. But thank you for joining us this evening on
Yes,
Let's Talk About,
awesome.
where you can help us lift up our community and voice your opinions. So remember, always tune in to BKS One Radio and let's talk about it. We need class.